Thanks everyone for being here. And guest today, please welcome Lindsey Tropf, who is here with us on Connected Conversations for a wonderful chat. And I'm glad everyone can join us. And Lindsey, how about you introduce yourself a little bit and tell us who you are?
Sure. You should hit the reconnect button before that drives me crazy too. But
Sorry.
hi, I'm Lindsey Tropf. I'm founder and CEO of an educational gaming startup called Immersive Games. What we make is Tyto Online, which is a science video game really targeted right now towards schools, actually using it as part of their curricula. And my background is in education. So I was working on a PhD in school psychology when I started doing my dissertation on game-based learning and got a little distracted. Didn't finish my dissertation. Maybe in the next year or two, we'll see. And started a company instead. Learned a lot about how to do that and technical and everything else so that we could get started. And now I know like 50 different skills that are outside of education.
And I've talked to Lindsey before in other capacities. You actually reached out to Glenn Irvin, I think, originally, who then reached out to me, who then connected us. And
Yeah,
it
I
just so
think someone
happened.
introed me to Glenn.
Yeah. And you're actually in New York State, correct? As
Yes,
I
I'm in
am.
Buffalo.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
awesome. I actually drove past Buffalo for one of the first times in my life. I didn't stop.
Wow.
So, yeah. But anyways, back to our conversation that we're going to have about games in education and science. And Immersive Games is mainly responsible for building Tyto Online.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Tyto Online is, I mean, for the nerdy gamer lingo, we designed it to be basically an MMORPG, but of course I don't really tell teachers that. We tell teachers that, we designed a video game not just because games are really cool and engaging for students, but because games can be used in order to set up authentic types of problems that really empower students. So they can go in, for instance, and to learn about genetics, they help a councilwoman solve a food shortage problem by working with a botanist in a lab and running experiments and doing all of this. So we can really let students do that sort of hands on work. Just right in a video game. So, long term, obviously, really, really broad, big visions we could talk about. But right now, we're very focused on that middle school science. And I must say, your filters are really testing my focus capability.
I will blame Eagle Scout Survival Tips for that because he had to do the redeem. So there you go. I'll turn the filter off for now so we can just be entertained
That's
by
fine.
the
It's
game.
a nice mental executive function challenge.
I forget that I'm used to it because I'm dealing with thousands of things at once usually. But it is his favorite redeem, so I have to make sure that I have that out there.
That's fine.
And so you had this kind of vision for Tyto Online. Where is it now, and where do you want it to be in the future?
Oh gosh, it is a baby still. So, the broader vision of what we wanted to do, and kind of the problems I wanted to solve, first starting from that, educator working on a dissertation, were that most of the educational games out there are kind of shallow experiences, like pop-up multiple choice questions and things like that. People that talk about the stuff all in an echo chamber to each other tend to call that, chocolate covered broccoli.
Yep.
Kind of just a worksheet
Yep.
replacement sort of thing. But you do find good games, but they tend to be like grant funded little projects, right? So it's like you find this game and you have to learn it and download it, maybe pay for it, maybe not, do all of that, implement it, and kind of move on. And so it's really hard for teachers that aren't, gamer nerds to really at scale implement games in their classroom. And it doesn't really empower the student either to kind of like, oh, I used a game and I learned something cool. How do I go stumble across more cool stuff or learn the next level of that? So what I wanted to do was make something that was more like an MMO, right? A big game with a lot of stuff in it. think at first I was thinking we would just build everything, but as this idea kind of adjusted, I realized that we could actually open it up as a platform, right? And so we use some internal tools to create all of our quests and content right now. And so the idea being that in the future, we can actually open those up to third parties to build content as well, and hopefully make it into, a massive platform where you can learn absolutely anything, because you really could teach, entrepreneurship and math and cool side things and personal finance and whatever you want when you're doing kind of this applied problem solving in a video game. And so yeah, I'd love for students to be able to join at 8 years old and yeah, play maybe for the rest of their lives, from school to extracurricular to adult education, and keep learning. So that's my crazy big vision. That obviously right now we are about a third of middle school content made by ourselves. So a lot more to keep me busy for the rest of my life, I think.
Right. Question from our one of our viewers: how hard is it to code a game? I've always wondered that.
Yes, so that is definitely a great question. It really depends on what you're trying to do. And you can make games with very minimal code or no code tools. So like there's things like RPG Maker out there, for instance. So if you want to make an RPG, you can go use that.
Hmm.
And I believe some games like Undertale used, I don't know if it was that tool or a similar tool out there as well, that were highly, highly commercially successful, right? And they went in and they use a tool like that with not very much coding, I don't think. I think they did have to contract people to do some of the crazier things they wanted to do and help them out with that, and everything. So you can go from there and up. In our case, we're doing um, an online multiplayer game. So there's a bunch of networking and stuff like that. Yeah, I see in the comments someone said coding everything from the graphics, the movements to everything else. So um, most people use something called a game engine. So like Unity or Unreal are the two main game engines that people use. And honestly, Roblox is kind of like a game engine at this point as well. And so the game engines really handle a lot of that. So the general like physics, how the graphics are rendered, like all games need that same stuff, right? So it would be a real waste of time if every single game developer from scratch was like retelling the computer how to use a graphics card to render 3D assets in a game. So we use game engines that are just a tool set to do that. And then the only things that we have to code then are like the things that are more unique to our game. How do we want to talk to the server? How do we want the gameplay structured and stuff? I say only, don't let any of my teams, hear that. That's still massive. And in our case, it's extra complex because we also have teacher tools and assessment data and assignments and a bunch of other kind of layers there. So we have a team of 15 on our company. I think 3 of us aren't on the product that much. Everyone else is just working on the product full time for years.
Yeah, I think it's something that happens when a lot of companies try to get into that the academic school space, and they're just like, we're just going to design this, and educators are like, oh, no, 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 you can't do just that. You got to have these
Yeah.
other 10 layers that go on top of it that you didn't expect that you'd have to do. It's like, oh, so it's
Yeah.
not just a game. No.
Yeah. And
There's a
I
bigger
knew we
expectation.
needed those. But yeah, we definitely, when we first started, we actually thought we would go to consumers first and just let like parents pick it up. But we kind of discovered that like the standards for that were a bit harder, right? Because like you need a ton of content because kids on their own actually go through it a lot faster. It needs to be super polished, have tons of social features. And then teachers kept reaching out. So we're like, okay, we'll change and we'll go to teachers instead. And I'm like, cool. All we have to do is add some teacher tools, right? Assign content, get some assessment data, easy. But then there's a bunch of stuff we kind of had to rip out of the gameplay because, good game design meant that, like, at first, before you go into the sandbox where you get to place animals, we wanted you to have to
Hmm.
go get quests and do those and, like, do research and unlock them. So you had to, like, unlock your biodex, you know, basic gameplay mechanism. But then teachers, of course, started emailing going, why can't my kids do this? So we just had to keep ripping that stuff out and just give teachers like total control.
Sorry, I found this little monkey guy in the game.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Yes, one of our panganogs, our alien creatures here.
Alien creatures. And speaking of, like, you mentioned the chocolate covered broccoli, and I want to talk about there are a lot of players in the school space, in the education space. There's like Legends of Learning, there's Mosaic, and this is just in science. right? Um, so there's a lot of competition in there. And I kind of know, but I want to know how you feel you're setting yourself apart from that competition.
Yeah. Um, I'll try not to too explicitly say anything, disparaging about my competitors on a recorded stream here. But overall, yes, most things that we're competing with are those pop-up multiple choice questions with disconnected gameplay. And it's not just like a bad learning design or game design thing to do that. The research also shows that students, like there was actually a study where they created a game, a math like zombie game, and one had like pop up multiple choice stuff. If you got it right, you got to shoot the zombies or whatever, and one actually designed the math where you had to like solve the problems to beat it, and kill the zombies or whatever they were doing in this game. And they found that one that actually used the
Hmm.
mechanics was not only better learning, which I think is obvious for us as educators, kids also played it 7 times longer by choice. So we know that that's what works. And I may have heard like one of my competitors at a pitch competition once mentioned that, like, oh, all educational products work. The secret is just how to sell them. And in truth, they are much better at selling than I am. We're just starting that. But, I don't really agree with that philosophy, right? It's not just about, oh, it's fine, we'll just throw it out there. Like we really want to create
Mhm.
something that is powerful learning. And I'm not as familiar with like Mosaic specifically and how some of that works, with their, so there's obviously good stuff out there. I think like Explore Learning, for instance, has some really great simulations and things like that, in there. But the approach we're taking is actually making these storylines that start with a meaningful problem, let students investigate, feel like they're really solving it. It's generally attached to something like solving a food shortage, saving the coral reef, saving sick animals, helping something not go extinct, right? So that those are really strategies that help students feel empowered, that help actually marginalized students keep their interest in STEM, and are really more culturally relevant and responsive for students in a way that none of our competitors have done that, and really gotten that sort of thing in terms of those approaches. So we don't really have, like, when we talk to curriculum people in schools, like I just hear constantly that there's really, obviously there's other things you could use, like some of the stuff you mentioned, but nothing that is close enough that most of them don't really consider them competitors. It's just, do we want to try to use this crazy new thing that this woman is pitching us?
Right. I think it's interesting, and this will get into some like education kind of stuff that we talk about effect size. So you can have a change in your pre and post test scores because they always use test scores
Yeah.
to do these studies.
Mhm.
Um, and you're going to have an effect size, right? There's going to be a change usually. So why, so when someone says, "Oh yeah, our product works," it's like, well, duh, right? I mean, of course it works, but how well does it work? How much bang are you going
Right.
to get for your buck? And that's where it's harder for, I think, a lot of educators and even administrators and people to kind of tease through any data that's thrown at them, especially if it's data
Yeah.
that's collected by uh, the person that's selling the product. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Yeah,
sus.
and some of the things are like, it's tough too because as like an academic background person, I want to ask really on point questions sometimes about that. Like if
Yep.
people are piloting and I'm like, how do we want to evaluate the effectiveness? And they might mention wanting to do certain assessments and something like that. But like really most of the time all they care about is like, do the teachers say they feel like it's working, right? And stuff. So I have to kind of like pull back and not try to overcomplicate things for them. And yeah, most of the research, because we don't have a ton of money as a startup yet to pay someone to do it, most of the research has been done by me, which makes me uncomfortable as an academic as well, and things like that. So we do have in the pipeline in the next year or so, a third party helping with a study, which will be really nice to have more of that going on as well. But yeah, it's definitely a challenge, especially when, yeah, it costs a lot of money to do like a proper study.
Hmm. Um, so we had a question in the chat earlier. You kind of did answer it, and you tried to post something in the chat. I just have to get
Oh,
in,
is
and
it not? Oh, okay.
because
Is that
I have
blocked?
links blocked.
That makes sense.
You're
That
not on my
makes sense.
trusted list yet. You can put it in the chat on our on VBS Ninja. There's a chat in there,
Okay. Oh,
and
I
then I
see.
can
So,
post it myself. If you
okay,
don't mind.
I will do that.
Um, hey, Tropical, welcome in. And so the question was about what kind of content, I guess, is
Yeah.
in there. So I brought up. I just went to the explore and assign section, which is one of the best parts of what we have so far. There's the general science skills. We have cells and to organisms, growth and genetics, ecology, weather and climate. And I'll also add, for those that aren't in the K-12 space, these are aligned to the NGSS standards. So as we're going to, and one of the things that's always left out are the physical sciences
I
often.
know.
And you know why that is, though? It's because they lack that storytelling ability that a lot of the earth science and biology can contain, right? Because
Yeah.
that's what I teach mainly. It's the physical
I
science,
think we can do it.
chemist. You can do it. It just takes that extra little.
It is. And
Whereas
we're not
storytelling
uncomfortable
with
with it, right?
animals, like animals and
Yeah.
plants, the storytelling's so easy, right?
Yeah. Well, I think feel like waves in physics. Like the storytelling with that is pretty easy too. Like
Hmm.
if you're trying to and I am not a physics person, so I'm going to totally mess up my examples if I try to do some off. But the applied applications of things like waves. Do we want to be looking at how to solve problems of um, building better buildings that can fight against hurricanes or something? With some of
Hmm.
these physics things, we can really do awesome applied things there. But I'm going to need to um, get some teachers spending a lot of time because, like, my content creator is not comfortable with physics that I have. She's very comfortable with life, earth, space science, and all of that, where that verges
Hmm.
into physics. So, yeah, I'm hoping before we get there, I can actually hire a full time like X science teacher who is more comfortable with physics that will be helping us on content creation because that one's gonna be a struggle for us otherwise.
And that's where I think a lot of, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, of where gameplay can diverge from good to bad is the storytelling piece. Good games can tell a good story, and that's what keeps the player engaged often. They leave just enough out that they want to keep pursuing it, and it's interesting enough that they want to keep going on. So is that something you've tried to do with this in that storytelling piece?
It's a really big challenge for us because of the fact that people can go in any order, right? So because schools are using this, every school teaches the content that you see on the screen in a different way. And so some of them start with cells and then go into genetics and ecology. Some do that reverse. Some are jumping around between these or they're on different grade levels. And so, when we were first just building this as like only a good game and thinking we are just going to like let people go play it on their own with parents and children, we were building more of that bigger story around it. But then the challenge becomes when you can go in absolutely any order, how do you do that? So we have kind of, and Caroline, my co-founder who does the side of things, my not physics person up there, we have the overarching like epic story of you're an Earth refugee, you wake up from cryo sleep, you're joining Tyto Academy on this alien planet and trying to like set up a new life here and kind of help us not repeat the mistakes of our past. We left it a little vague on exactly what happened to Earth. Although at this point, I'm like, hey, whatever. Maybe we'll just get banned in a state. It'd be good PR. So that's kind of the epic background that we set up, and then from there, kind of the different storylines we have their own little loops of maybe a couple hour like kind of arcs that are throughout it. But we couldn't really do like big things. And when you go to the same characters a second time, it's awkward because we
Hmm.
don't know if you've already talked to them or not. And so we had to actually like rip out a lot of that for school context and make it more flexible, which is a pretty big challenge for us to kind of think about that. But we still have like we did a study. It's less now, but last year during COVID, when schedules were more flexible, almost half of students played extra quests beyond what they were assigned. And so it's like we are getting all this extra play. So it's this mix of teacher controlled assignments and kids playing on their own based on auto unlocks of like what's next in their progression. And so trying to balance all that is kind of crazy. I did talk to a professor at one point who was really interested in maybe writing a grant to like try to use AI to actually like smooth that all out and based on what you've done in your learning progression before change the dialogue and how the characters interact with you. So that could be some really cool stuff to like help make that feel like a more complete story that we could do in the future, which would be really nice.
So
So
it'd
we'll
be
have to
more
see.
you know, Skyrim or Witcher 3, except with science.
Yeah, I mean, which
Or like you could have
we
like actual, like moral judgment, things where it's like if you choose this, the world will perish.
well, we are working on one of the features requests that we have. I don't know how quickly we can get it in. Honestly, with how much we have to do, it might be a couple years. We do want to do branching storylines, so that you can get a little bit more of that in. But then the problem, as a teacher yourself, if you're trying to teach in class
Yep.
and the kids can go on branching storylines that you all need them to do the standards, that could mean that one kid takes twice as long as another kid. How do you deal with that? So the limitations of school versus like independent play make that really challenging too.
Yep. Well, there you go. Uh,
Yeah.
Timber 8086 SS here is a paleontologist, and he
Okay.
says he'll help with the paleontology part of your game.
Okay. Yeah. I actually have a spreadsheet going with people like volunteering. So I mean, if you want to reach out, DM me on Twitter or something. My Twitter is right on the thing there. I will add you to the spreadsheet for when we need content like that. We actually have a bunch of really cool dinosaurs already made for when we do the evolution module. Yes, so feathered
Nice.
dinosaurs, mind you, that are very beautiful from Cretaceous Mongolia. And we reached out to researchers to try to figure out the plants. There's a lot less information about plants, and stuff. So we're looking forward to doing some cool stuff there.
Sorry, I'm just like exploring on here. Do you want to continue? Yes, I want to go to the island. I don't even know what that is yet.
Yeah.
So we'll go there.
Just one of our other maps. We do a lot of unique maps for the storylines. We tried not to when we were first starting, so it's a lot to build, but what we just found is that they're a lot better if we are okay having our art team spend 2 months making a brand new map. So we can generally, the more we make, the more we can reuse. So like we made the island for some of our weather and climate. One side of this is a desert, the other side's a rainforest. So
Hmm.
it actually has rain shadow phenomena that happen in science. It's got a mountain in the middle. And so that's kind of setting up a phenomena for the students to investigate to understand how air masses work. And so that we have a storyline there. I think we're going to put actually some of our evolution stuff, and they're like digging for fossils on this island too and stuff like that. So we end up with all these different maps based on kind of what we
Hmm.
need to set up and give the students opportunities to check out.
Yep. And you also got to check out how these cribbets taste in gumbo. Because they look kind of like crawfish or shrimp like. It's a
Uh,
mollusk, so we got to be able to harvest them.
yeah,
But if you harvest
we
too
are
many, they
we are
might go
working
extinct. So
we are
there's their
working on a
plot.
digestion storyline. So where you propose a menu. We could really creep out the kids with that one. You're right, with the cribbets. One of my developers really hates bugs, and he really hates when he has to touch anything with that asset.
Yeah. I always thought in a lot of games there is that component of, and a lot of people get into that gameplay where it's the collecting, where especially if you're the alchemist, right? Or you're the
Yeah,
herbalist, right? And you're collecting all the different plants and you're using those plants to treat different things or make different potions. Um,
yeah,
but so different kids have different style, or different people have different styles of gameplay. Some people
yeah.
love that style of gameplay and collecting those things and making things out of them. And I always thought, as myself, I like doing that in games. And I'm sure, I don't know
Yeah.
if there's a thing about scientists and how they like to collect things and then
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that was what was sad about our biodex, which is right to the left of the gear on the top. I don't know if you've played around with that before. It might take a couple seconds to load if you want to click on that icon or not. So in the top
I
left,
clicked
it's a
it.
little like paper. Okay, right. Forgot that's delayed versus this. So it'll take a little while to load if you've never done it. So this was a thing I was mentioning earlier, that we used to make you go find these animals in the game world, and we actually masked a lot of the information until you went and like found a baby and
Hmm.
scanned it. Then we'd give you
Right.
reproduction info and stuff like that. But we had teachers reaching out saying like, this is slowing, I can't do this. I wanted to go have them build ecosystems and they can't access information about these animals. And I was like, fair. So I don't know. At some point, maybe we'll make different rules based on if you're in a class or playing on your own or something like that. So this is our alien species. There's also some icons in the middle with the biodex for checking out like for the real Earth ecosystems we've recreated, where you can check out a lot of real information about the
Mm.
desert and the Himalayas and things like that in there. So this was one thing that we really wanted to be collection. We left little bits of it in there, so there is some extra information that will like these will highlight as you go, like collect it and stuff for some of the animals. But yeah, there just wasn't a lot we could do without really interfering. But the other collection thing that often happens is for kids, we have a progress tracker that shows you like how many of the quests you've done.
Hmm.
So if you click on the leaf in the top left, that's up there, that will open and show you like how much I think for the ecology module that you've done so far. And so that will, yeah, the kids will go through and see maybe there's 50 ecology quests. And oh, sorry, that I meant outside of the biodex, the leaf in the top left. And maybe you've already done it because
Oh,
there's a
there you
delay
go.
on the stream, but yeah, to open,
I've
or it's I
done
think
not much of anything. I got my room set up, I think.
yeah, yeah. Well,
So
if you click on the leaf in the very top left
got
there,
it.
yeah, and stuff, then you can see your available quests and things like that. You can actually click on any of the modules. So if you want to check out how much you've done, it shows you. We actually there's been a couple points where we accidentally messed up a prerequisite, and a kid has contacted us on live chat and been like, "I have all but one quest done. I can't find it. How do I get it?" And we like look, we're like, "Oh, whoops, we broke the prereq. Sorry, you can't get it until we fix that." So definitely the kids who like collection, that's really where they go in there, and there's evidence and knowledge to
Hmm.
collect that gets checked, and making sure that you've done every single quest in the game, which we've had kids do that and then ask us if they can reset and start over before.
Wow,
So
that's like,
yeah.
did you like give them a special prize or something? Be like, all right, you actually helped us more to find the bugs in our system than anybody else.
We actually do have a loot box with just a random reward that sometimes we will. I don't have like proper GM tools, so my programmers have to like go enter a line of code into our systems to do that. So I will be doing that a lot more when I get some proper GM tools made so that I can go do that. But yeah, it's we definitely have, when kids have helped us figure out bugs, plopped a handful of prizes in their inventory.
I mean, a lot of my kids like collecting outfits and stuff in games.
Hmm.
Like I want to get the entire set of armor, or whatever.
Yeah.
That's their goal often. Uh,
Yes, and the icon on the top left that looks like a box is actually your inventory, which
Oop,
includes all of your clothing and stuff. I don't know if
my
you
bad.
probably haven't done enough to have alternatives there yet, but yeah, yours is pretty sad and empty right now.
Oh.
So you don't really have a lot of options, but as they're questing, it will give them both directly some different pieces of clothing and stuff, and also some in-game currency that they can go into the marketplace and check things out there. So there's pets and yeah, clothing and your furniture and stuff like that that you can do. As well for the apartment that some students get into. I recently had a teacher actually tell us that it's hard sometimes to get kids to complete their homework, especially this year. And she was also struggling a little with completing their Tyto assignments. And then one of the kids was like, "You can get pets."
There you
So
go.
all the kids are finishing their homework now. It's great. I always thought that would be for like extra play motivation, not just doing your homework. But hey, whatever works, right? The teacher was
Yep.
happy. So
Yep. And then you can get your pet and you can be like, you know what? I choose you. There's no Pikachu in this, but then you can have
yeah,
your
no,
pet battle
we'd get
another
sued
pet. No.
pretty badly. No, no. There's no way Caroline would allow that.
Yep.
I already get. She's already written in the descriptions of some of the pets, like this is a hologram, because she's like, I don't like the idea that they're taking this like endangered species as a pet. We're like, okay, whatever makes you happy.
That's funny. Um, any thoughts? I mean, we're talking the future. This is like the metaverse of science games. Uh, VR, right? I mean, you have
Yeah.
to. How do you not think about it? Because it's like everyone's talking
Yeah,
about
of
VR.
course. Yeah, and when we actually first started pitching this to investors, that came up a lot too. And so we actually like a couple years ago did a weekend hackathons. Our team wanted to mess around and see, and so we got like the basics working in VR in a weekend. My lead artist, I have a video of her yelling, "I made you" at a turtle. She was so excited, like getting really up close to it in the game and stuff like that, and screaming at her creations. So yeah, because this is a 3D game world space, VR is pretty simple from that perspective. Like being able to go in and do that not really a big, okay, I don't want to say it's not a big deal. We don't have to rebuild it, right? All the content would
Right.
work, all of this would come over. The thing that we'd have to change a lot of would be the user interfaces, right?
Hmm.
Obviously,
Yep.
debugging for new platforms is always a thing as well. I'm sure we would discover stuff. So we'd have to change up the user interfaces. I don't like investing in new cutting edge technology unless I feel that you get something new out of it that you don't get from the current technology, right? So, like, what would VR bring to the table beyond kids playing on their Chromebook right now?
Hmm.
And so, we've kind of talked and brainstormed about that a bit, especially as investors bring it up all the time and stuff. So, some of the things that I would like to do, for instance, if you're finding evidence, sometimes we have you just go look for evidence out in the game world. We wanted to make you actually have to go find it. So, for instance, in one of our quests where you're trying to figure out something's an invasive species, we had like some rotting native fruit because it wasn't getting eaten because the invasive pineapple was getting eaten and stuff like that. So, we wanted kids to go like walk in an area and find this. And when we first did that, and we play tested, everyone just ran by it constantly. So, we had to just make it glow, right? But then it's not like you're really looking at it. You're just looking for the glowy item and you're running around, you're clicking the glowy item to get credit. But there's basically no other way in the game as it is right now. Like this, you can do that. But in VR, that is something we could do. We could actually be like, okay, you have the ability to get closer now, right? Or,
Hmm.
and in addition to that, maybe we could let you actually pick it up and look at it and rotate it. And that's what gives you credit for it rather than just like running by and clicking it as fast as you can while you're running around. So I think there's some cool things like that we can do in VR that would really get you like observing a lot closer as well. But I'm not sure. I honestly don't have a lot of other things based on our gameplay that seem like they would be like super compelling. Maybe our weather and climate sandbox because it involves a
Hmm.
planet and rotation and stuff. Helping you see that in 3D would be really nice as well. So yeah, just trying to think like outside of the general like VR is cool and engaging type of thing. Is there something else that would really be beneficial beyond what we can do with $150 Chromebooks? Because that's a lot harder to
Hmm.
set up. Yeah. And then the only other problem is like VR being like fully running around is last I've looked in still a little tough on the nausea. So
Um, I did do I streamed a chemistry game once where like you would
yeah.
have to like pour, using a graduated cylinder, you'd have to
Yeah.
put
Is that Shell
whatever,
Games?
put it over, yeah, and you have to
Yeah.
put it on a scale and get the mass. So, I mean, that was
Yeah.
really, really cool. And I was like, wow, this was actually really good and not messy. That's the best part. I didn't have to clean up afterwards, right? And I could spill it
Yeah.
all over the place and be like, whoops.
You could let your kids make explosions, unlike in
Exactly.
real life if they want to. Yeah, I know. Some of those things can be really, really useful as well. Yeah, they do great work with that.
So, but at the rate, I mean, it took us, a pandemic to get, computers in the hands of every kid. So
Yeah.
before VR becomes, you know, even in every school, it's going to be take another event of some kind. I don't know what
Yeah,
that
and that's
is.
basically what I've told investors as well and everything. Like, yeah, there's just the only really uses of VR schools right now are like maker spaces, STEM classes where the kids are kind of learning how to make
Hmm.
games and things like that is like a very limited elective set. They're just not in mass in
Yeah,
schools.
and crazy teachers like me that'll do it sometimes.
Right. Maybe a phone VR thing, but that's not powerful enough to really be properly interactive. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um. Yep. But hey, you never know. Uh, so what is? Let's talk a little bit about game development and
Sure.
your thoughts on what is the best part about like being a game developer and what's the worst part?
Yeah, I mean, I think the best part is certainly like actually getting to bring these ideas to life and, come up with a concept and then see it and have other people interacting with it. Like that's incredible to be able to do and experience and yeah, that's obviously just an amazing part of doing this and coming up with these stories and characters. And I mean, we're way more into our lore than I think anyone else is as well, right? Like internally, we're like obsessed with our own characters and stuff like that. Like you just get that amazing feeling of culture. I think the worst part is honestly just that everything other people don't like about your game, like, you already know, right? So it's just like we have like 1,000 item backlog of things we want to do, features we want to add, things we want to build. And so, we're
Hmm.
having to prioritize, and we essentially just go through and what's important for teachers to actually be able to use it, for us to be able to sell this, for it to be feasible. And so, the boring things like refactoring how our memory is being used, because kids are complaining of lag, and that was hurting a deployment. That's going to get prioritized before all these really cool features that everyone gets really excited about and stuff. So I know often it's something I've seen other game devs say too, like, if they release a game and people are criticizing it, like, it's like, we knew too, we wanted to do that stuff, it's just you only have so much time and resources. And so I think that's the part that's frustrating. And when people are using it sometimes, and you just want to be like, here's, like, as you're playing, I just want to be like, and we want to do this and this and this and this. It's just, yeah, trying to have the time to bring that to life. Yeah, so kids get on my live chat and yell at me about the game being laggy or something. I'm like, as I was telling you before we
Yeah.
actually got live, I'm like, look, kids, do you play any other 3D games on your school $150 4-year-old Chromebooks? No? You're welcome. Like, it's gonna be a little slower than on like
Yep.
on your Switch. Like, sorry, that's just life. Yeah.
Now, if you could put it on a Switch, now that would be interesting.
I mean, we could, but time and resources and
Yep. Oh
developers,
yeah.
as always.
Um, I'm sorry, Eagle Scout, you got stung by
Eagle
a
Scout.
wasp.
I just saw that too.
We did
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
question. Volcano Doc wanted to know a little bit about like the timing of games, like how
Mhm.
long it takes to like develop a game. I mean, the whole thing. I mean, games now are always in beta, aren't they? I mean, it's never done.
Yeah, I never actually announced that we left beta, so at any point I can just use that as an excuse. No, it is true. I looked on my blog, on our blog, I realized I never like officially was like, by the way, I've just kind of we've just been developing it forever. But yeah, I mean, I see someone asked answered a question as well, which is correct. Like, it depends on the game, right? And you can definitely make a simple game in a weekend, or make a first prototype in a week or something like that. For this game, we started working on this in like 2016. So to give you some idea, now we were a new team, so I'm sure a more experienced team could have built the same thing faster. But part of that is also figuring out some things and iterating, right? So we first started, as we mentioned, wanting to go direct to parents. So we made it as an
Hmm.
install game, without the teacher tools and stuff. And then we decided we need to go to schools. So we made all these teacher tools, but no one would install it. So then we had to build it into the web browser. And each one of these, it's like, oh, it's a new platform. Well, web browsers don't support these 50 features. They need all these other changes and stuff. So that kind of, if we were to start over right now, we could probably build this again in 2 years. I'm not sure, with our team. Yeah. Oh, I see your character in here and nearby.
Oh,
I
geez.
think so. If you're second sushi,
Yes,
I
that's
didn't
me.
actually look.
Oh, look at
So
you.
yeah,
Look at that.
and emote at you now. So our movement. Speaking of those features, you can see our movement is not that smooth at the moment because just can't manage to get it really high on the priority list, to go through and do a bunch of updates to make that happen. Yeah.
Nice.
So hopefully that answered your question well enough
Yeah.
about the game development. I know it feels like yeah, a cop out to say it depends, but yeah.
Yes, there are geologists in this game.
Yes, yes, and Juniper is a cartographer as well. So
Or how do you make it? How do you make your character dance? Or do I have to like learn how to dance?
so on the bottom left there, you'll see that there's it
Oh,
used
I
to be a
see.
chat
I
box.
got it.
Yes, there's a little emote button, so you can type and search for emotes, or you can scroll through and check them out.
Okay,
Yeah,
I did the
so
jazz hands.
this is why we tell teachers to spend the first session just letting kids mess around, because they're going to ignore you if you try to just get them immediately into doing learning activities
Hmm.
versus like seeing each other's avatars. There's a lot of hollering and excitement when they get to see what they've created. And there's a lot more as they go. Like, obviously, you can get more custom clothing, like my character has here. We also have like a salon in the marketplace. It has like 60 something hairstyles. We only gave 20 during the first setup, though, partially just because I've observed some classrooms where the teachers got frustrated with how long the kids were taking to make their avatars, and the teachers were like, "It doesn't matter, just do it." And I'm like, "Oh God." So we only gave like 20 hairstyles up front. We kept some of our more interesting ones for later, so that yeah, we wouldn't cause conflicts with kids spending an hour going through their character customization options, so they can earn it and change it later.
um, so yeah, I find that it helps as a gamer myself to understand that going in, to know that usually for something like today, I had really nothing else planned other than to try to have kids log in, right? The day that I had them
Yeah.
log in, I'm like, because I know that's, either it's not going to work, or they're just going to spend the entire time just messing around making their characters,
Yeah.
which is fine. Some kids tend to have an idea, I find, already of what they're gonna be if they get the
Hmm.
choice, right? They're like, I
Right.
always choose a half elf, ranger, and I am
Sorry.
going to be
Yeah.
chaotic neutral,
Yeah. Yeah.
whereas some people are more, oh, I only have two choices of eyebrows. Oh, that's unfortunate. I wanted 10,
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and so and that's where kids are funny. And I also find it interesting. It's a study almost when you have kids choose avatars. I've
Yeah.
had you know boys that would always choose a female avatar,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like, okay, why are you choosing that? That's it. So it's kind of almost a social study to see what they're
Yeah.
doing.
I
um
attended a roundtable at GDC, the Game Developers Conference, once, and I don't remember exactly which. One of the big AAA games, that was some of the UX designers or user experience designers were there, and they said that when they tested out like the character creation, they saw that basically almost every white male did not make a character that looked like them, but pretty much every person of color or woman made a character that looked more like them. And they thought that was really interesting, in terms of
hmm.
just like representation and kind of what people were interested in playing as. And I think they had an amazing character system that you could really do that. So I think people were just excited to be able to actually do that, and everything, and make a character that really looked like them. That was a few years ago, but yeah, it was an interesting
Yeah,
observation they had as well.
yeah, it's about role playing. And like Tropical Geek said,
Yeah.
it's called imagination. Yep.
Yeah.
And it's called role playing, I think, as well. um
Yeah.
yep. And so one other thing, someone just asked, also Eagle Scout Spiral Tips asked, how many different science job type positions are there in the
I
game?
don't know off the top of my head because I don't really think of it that way. Like they're not really, I guess they're explicit, but they're not really like how we've designed it to like explore jobs per se. It's more that like in order to learn about pandemics, we set up that there's some disease going on, and that we want people to help. So in that process, you end up talking to a nurse practitioner at a community clinic, and talking to some other people through that. So I think we have a good amount of careers from that. I'm like skimming some of this on the side for myself, like we have our nurse, we have a botanist, we have our cartographer there, we have students you're helping as well. We have ecologists, kind of all these people doing it, people who are supervising different biodomes and taking care of the ecosystems. I guess we could think of them as like rangers. In there, we have a councilwoman who gives you a couple of your quests because
Mhm.
you're trying to solve like these bigger problems for that she's bringing to you as well. So yeah, there's a lot of different things in there. We do have in our teacher guides a career connections at the end of all the teacher guides. So even if we don't really like include all the possible careers, we have like a little write up that teachers can use to do some career exploration. I've thought about doing some more explicit career explorations. This is actually, I wrote up a small grant proposal we didn't get, so I have some stuff written up for this as well. But I had talked to some people at ASA, the American Student Assistance. Yeah, I probably messed that up. There's an A at the end, association, as well, that does a lot around career explorations. And so they told me at middle school it's more important to get kind of an idea of like your skills and competencies and strengths and what type of things you like to do, and then kind of general exposure to careers. And so we were thinking about maybe just as you're doing things as part of science curricula, maybe just after you do it, unlocking a quest where you can shadow someone for a day and learn more about the career and what's involved, and unlock a badge. And then on the dashboard outside of the game, maybe link that to some profiles and videos showing diverse people that do those careers, kind of source from other places and things. So there's things like that we've been thinking about to make more connections. But certainly just by like playing and working with a botanist or an ecologist or something, we've had kids jump into live chat and tell us that, after playing the game, they want to be a biologist now and stuff, which is really cool to see.
That's cool and very
Yeah.
self-affirming for what you do. That's
Yes. Yes. Every time a kid comes in, it's like, I solved the problem, or I want to, be a scientist now, or wow, I'm being a scientist. That, like that's like exactly our goal, is to make you feel like you're really solving these problems. And when kids unprompted, like jump into every single time, I screenshot it, share it with the team, of course. So it's like you
Mhm.
can't get better than like kids saying exactly what your goal is and just unprompted coming and telling you that.
Good. Job well done. um, yeah, and I think seeing those different fields being represented is good in the different jobs. Even just,
Yeah.
geologists, it's like, okay, I mean, this is middle school. It's not like you're going to be progressing. A lot
Yeah.
of times it's just you go into, your undergrad, even just being like, and I want to do something, geology related. You might not even know, but at least you kind of
Yeah.
know the types of things that geologists do and they study that you might be
Yeah.
interested in. So,
And yeah, the type of activities that they actually do, that's one of the
mhm,
things that's been really interesting to us. And we've had teachers tell us their kids start discussing, like, what is it that an ecologist actually spends all day doing, right? Because when you're playing the video game, you're doing some of these things. So you get to see like what would
right.
actually be involved in that day to day, in a really interesting way. And I think those insights are really important. Some people go to college and choose a whole career and then discover like, oh, what I'm doing all day is sitting on a bench in a lab, like, running things through pipettes, crap, know?
There are some jobs you don't want kids to be exposed to because then they would never want to do them. Because there are some really bad jobs out there in science. And I'm a
Yeah,
science
yeah,
teacher, and I'll say that. But hey,
yeah, I
maybe
know
someone will
multiple
enjoy the
people.
things that I
Yeah.
didn't, right? I always tell kids, I'm like, there is someone that actually gets paid to watch grass grow and paint dry. Right? Someone has to test those variables.
Yeah, yeah. One of my friends who also does educational video games is a professor, and when she got her PhD in microbiology, and she spent her time putting fruit flies into blenders and all of that, and then was like, "Oh, this looks fun," and ended up making educational games instead. Don't blame her for that one.
Oh yeah. But some people, as we know, love doing experiments with fruit flies. Where would
Yeah,
we be without our fruit fly geneticists, our
yeah,
friends that do that research? Uh,
yeah.
any fruit flies in this game yet? Your Drosophila?
No,
No.
no, not yet.
They'd be too small. You
Yeah.
couldn't be able to see them. Yes.
Yeah, we'd probably do something similar, but with one of our alien species. That's one reason we kind of you've been mainly hanging out in our alien places. Some of our maps are Earth ecosystems as well, so we like to be able to pull from both. So if we want to do something, maybe a little more extreme, like an invasive species. Oh, it looks like you haven't opened most of the Earth ones. I think you could get to the ocean right now, but the others are behind a lock, a content lock. We have a little progression left
Yes,
in
yes.
there, as well. So yeah, it lets us kind of like exaggerate things. Sometimes science, and I don't know if you run into this, it can be hard to teach kids at a middle school level a concept without like being slightly wrong. Granted, at the middle school level, almost all the science is leaving a lot out, but so that's one reason we like to do the alien examples sometimes, that we can just do the concept without like worrying about some of those little details that might be technically wrong if we tried to do a real life concept and would bother people.
Yep. I'm in the shopping area. I don't know if I don't have any money though, so I can't actually buy anything.
If you open your inventory, you can look, but yeah, if you haven't done any quests, you
Yeah, I got nothing. I
probably
got
don't.
nothing. I got 1,650 credits.
Oh,
Looks
that's
like.
actually a good amount. You could definitely buy some stuff if that's how much you have on there.
All right.
You can go have some fun for sure. Maybe upgrade your outfit. There's also a pet vendor. I'm actually not even 100% sure where they are. I think they're in this area somewhere, but
I can't afford a
we're
pet. I'd have to get it shots and everything too, wouldn't I?
400-ish adoption. You got
Oh, that's
enough for
not
that.
bad. That's not bad.
Yeah. Honestly, we should probably raise the prices. We've had a couple times that kids who played a lot were like, I ran out of stuff I wanted to buy. So that's why we added the pet vendor. We didn't have it yet. We're like, okay, we're gonna make sure that doesn't happen with that. But yeah, and the pet vendor's getting a whole new shop pretty soon that
Ooh,
reminds me of
cool.
like littlest pet shops I played with as a kid. It's really fun.
Nice. Yes. Yes, I remember
Yeah.
those pet shops. Yep.
Yeah.
Or your standard on drying soils aggregates. I That's what I did for my thesis as an undergrad. I dried soil and plant samples. That was that and weighed them. That was fun. Found their mass. That was yeah. Just stuck them in the oven and dried them out.
But hopefully you did not have to stare at them the whole time. I got it. The
Well,
discussion
yeah.
going on.
I didn't have to stare at them, but we didn't have phones back then either, so I just kind of sat in the room and
Yeah. You can tell this is the clothing shop. If you go in there,
yeah. Look at
you can
this.
buy some things there.
Some fancy
Oh, do you?
duds here.
Yeah, yes, with our great
Nice.
mannequins. So you can check out some of your options here
Mm,
first.
very nice.
Yeah.
It's like going
It
to
is
the mall.
really I actually really love when we get screenshots from kids and I get to see how they set up their characters. Or sometimes in order to fix a problem for kids, I like have to log in as their account. So they log off and I log in as their character and like work with our dev team to fix something. And I like generally sneak a look at their apartments and then I put them back where they were so they don't know I did it. But I just want to know, a little more what people are doing, how they're using the tools and designing things and stuff. So yeah, the I sneak around and check it out of curiosity. It's one of my joys.
Oh, look at all this cool stuff I can buy now. This is unbelievable.
See, it's quite affordable. Target level, you're fine. You got enough money.
Yep. But now the choices. It's like, what do I want to get? What's my style going to be? What's going to represent me in game?
These are
Oh,
important choices that you
no.
have.
This reminds me of a lot of the Pokemon Go styles. I was saying.
Okay. Yeah.
It's pretty good. But,
Oh.
ha, ha. Everyone's watching me shop now.
Well, yes. Target. Someone said Target could be the rich person's Walmart. The shirts were 50, 50, 40, 50 of our little credits here. That they weren't too cheap. So it was intentionally chosen as a layer up in the cost perspective there. I mean, there's some 100 plus credit jackets, 200 credits for that fancy
Eh,
one, but either way,
eh.
you got 1,000. You're good. You can certainly design a good outfit here.
Kind of like that. Hmm. It's got to go with the hair. I got to get the pants to go with it though too. I got to get the whole
Yeah,
set. You
yeah,
know.
yeah. You're definitely going to have to. Uh, you've been instructed to make it rain, so.
Oh, geez. I kind of like that. That more of the street urban look.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, got a lot. We guess this is one of the amusing like kind of storytelling aspects or kind of some of the conflicts. We had to have our style because it's futuristic and everything. So we've got the city is called Esbeth, style with
Mm-hmm.
things, but certainly kids always come in and they want, they want Nikes. And I'm always like, I can't do a brand name. Would you be okay with Lawlister instead of Hollister, right? And stuff. Like I really want to make that as a t-shirt and stuff because they're always just asking us for brand names and everything. So yeah, we I keep telling our
Okay.
artists like we should put really wild stuff in here. Like kids want just crazy off the wall things, but like they especially my creative director Caroline kind of cringes at the idea of like giving just ruining
There
the
we go.
aesthetics of how everything fits together right now. So yeah, it's in your inventory. You'll see the little orange dot indicate. So I just realized that I'm behind you, so you're doing everything before I'm saying it here. Sorry. as I watch your stream and comment on it there. So you're
That's
figuring
okay.
it
Look
out.
at
You
that.
know how to play games.
I got it. I bought clothes.
You bought clothes. We are
Yes.
very proud of you.
Nice. Actually, the other day it was kind of scary. I was like, you know what? I actually have to buy clothes for like the first time since COVID. I was like, I need to go out and go shopping. You
I
know,
am
I'm a
doing
typical
that
guy. I have to
too.
like force myself to go out clothes shopping.
I
I
mean,
clothes
I
shop
tried to do
more
curbside
online
pickup, but yeah,
in
I did
games than
curbside
I do
pickup, but
in real
I
life.
don't even know what size pants I wear anymore. They're not sweatpants. So, I have an event I'm going to at MIT next week. I'm like, oh, I had to get a haircut today and
Mhm.
haven't been in person anywhere for like a year. Yeah, it's rough.
Yep, that is the life. Anyways, I'll have to buy that pet later. And
Oh, did you find the pets?
no, I didn't find the pet yet. It's got to be over here somewhere. I probably
I was,
spent
I
that
was
on my clothes.
You
Up the
probably have
wall,
enough. I'm
vendor
trying to
Walter.
remember. They might be in the commons area instead. I'll figure out where the pets are in a moment here. Yeah, this is why we're going to make a proper pet shop so it'll be easier to find out where the pets are. We have a bot for live chat, mainly to occupy the kids so they don't harass us too much. And one of those, the most commonly, selected one is how do I find new clothing or pets on there. That is definitely what kids want to ask us
Yep. First
when
thing, I
they go
want
mess
pets.
around.
How do I get a pet?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then of
yeah.
course it's
That
like you have to finish a quest. I'm on it.
yeah, and some of the quests do give pets. A lot of the rewards that we have for storyline are linked to what the person just like did. So, for instance, we have a zombie ant storyline where we do like the zombie ants in the Amazon rainforest, and you're trying to figure out what's going on there and stuff. And so, when they finish that, we actually give them a zombie ant pet and stuff so that can follow them around. And it's got these big, you know, this fungus growing out of its head and it walks around kind of twitchy and gross and is massive. So I'm sure some people don't like that, but so that's one of my favorite ones though that you get when you finish one of the storylines. So
All right, there
I
you
think the
go.
pet vendor is over by the apartments. I thought we were moving it
I'm
there, but
getting
maybe
some
it's already there.
decorations, man. This is nice. Look at these. I put these in my
uh,
room. My room is kind
you,
of bare.
oh yeah, no, if you haven't done
So
anything, absolutely. There's definitely a lot you can do there. I had some kid once like message me about like had a question about how they could do something and they were like, "Well, you see in my mud room." And I'm like, "We gave you one like 20 by 30 room. Like, what do you mean?" And there's some platforms you can buy and stuff. So they had used those to make walls and built rooms and all sorts of stuff that yeah, definitely way outside anything our team has done with it. I don't think any of us have done more than like look, I made about, a loft that I can go to.
I'm on a construction vendor. Oh, I can't open it yet. I must have to unlock something else first. Oh wait, there it goes. It was
Oh,
just
it's
lagging a
probably
little
just
bit.
getting a little laggy.
It was getting
Yeah.
a little
Yeah. I
laggy
was
again.
like,
It's like what?
oh, your brow.
I'm a banana
Oh,
again,
my
by the way.
browser encountered an issue. Okay,
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
Mine. I think I might be overwhelming it playing the game here
And
while
watching
watching
Twitch.
Stritch, while streaming. Yeah,
Yeah,
doing all that at once.
all of
Twitch
it at
is
once.
yeah, it's getting a little mad at me there. I'll close my version of the game so that I don't do that. Cool.
Wow, there's a lot of stuff in here. I'm actually like really impressed at the amount of stuff that you have.
Thanks. It's always the backup. I'm like, hey, if the art team runs out of stuff to do while they're waiting on us to design the next content, just make more customization. As I said, kids will complain to us when they run out of things they want to buy. So, always good to have a lot in there. And really, like anything we're building for any other part of the game, we will consider if we should make it a shop item, right? So it's like if we were making a little item. Whoops. If we were making a little item somewhere, hopefully that's not like I guess maybe I should have told the dev team that I was no, I don't think they restarted it. They would have told me that I was doing a stream. Sometimes they'll
We're
restart it
doing an
at night.
update right now at 10. No kids will be on doing
Yeah,
their homework right now. Come
well,
on now.
exactly.
Unless they're in
Although they
California.
they generally watch if they want to like restart or do an update and stuff. And so like one of my developers who's in charge of that will be like, 8 at night and he wants to go home and there's like one kid playing and he's like, oh, they haven't done anything for a little while. Maybe they're gonna log off and then they'll like start a brand new storyline. He's like, no. So we're working on some improvements where we should be able to deploy while kids are playing, and then it'll just kind of move people over next time they refresh or something. So we're really, they told me about that in our last, our last demo with the full team about all of our improvements, and I was like, but aren't you gonna miss that? Come on, Nate. He's not gonna miss that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I'll post a link in Discord as well.
Yeah.
The other question here: would you ever put a fantasy creature as a pet, like Cerberus or I guess Pegasus or something like that?
Yeah. We have.
Is
some
there a
fantasy...
pet rock?
There is a pet rock, but it's actually just decoration for your apartment that you just said. It's just named Pet Rock. It doesn't follow you around. But yeah, surprisingly, there is a pet rock. But yeah, we have, because we're on an alien planet, we have made up creatures. We probably wouldn't pull in a fantasy creature like a Cerebrus, a Cerebus. I'm bad at pronouncing things. Like just straight, but we might like make our own iteration of some of these things, to put it in there as well, just kind of for our own world building and things like that. Sci-fi, not fantasy game. So, but it's easy to turn anything to sci-fi, right?
There. Yeah. So what's your Twitter? The Twitter is there at Tropf. That's right on the screen there. Yeah. You can go find it right now. I'll also say if scientists could wear lab jackets this like chic in real life, then we would have no trouble having scientists anymore, right? Everyone would want to be a scientist. Like, dang, that's sweet. Want to get me some of them threads? Oh yeah, those threads are nice. I love this other. You get a pipette. You can tell this isn't Flynn Scientific because it'd be like 250 credits. That's a science joke right there.
And these are all things you can like decorate your apartment with if you want to and stuff. So as I said, these are things we made because we were putting them in the game world. So we're like, sure, we'll just let kids buy it too. Like, why not? It's really easy to do that.
Yep.
We actually even have like an art museum, and near the art museum, you can buy some like we took like Creative Commons, like public domain old pieces of art and stuff that you can go get there.
Oh, nice.
So but I do wear that lab coat. It is a pretty sweet lab coat. So yes, I guess future plans will have to include a clothing line, but that's why the art team kind of fights me a little when I'm like, put really crazy things in, like dragon, costumes, and they're just like, we kind of have our style and our look. We do for special events. We've done stuff rather than it just being an outfit. Like for Halloween, you can buy some like costumes that are an item you can use that will just transform your character into something for 5 minutes and stuff like that. So we do have some fun. We have a winter event, a Halloween event. I don't know. We should pick a couple more. There's actually someone commenting on some of the Halloween skins. Around Halloween last year, we added a new storyline with body systems. So your rewards when you finish that is you actually get an outfit. You get 2 different outfits. One is a t-shirt and pants that are decorated to look like a circulatory system. The other is like the skeletal system. And so I had a kid come on live chat and be like, I really love the new Halloween skins. And I was like, oh, we haven't launched those yet. Those are going to be out in like a week. These are just like the quest rewards. For learning about body systems. So those are there all the time. If you want your creepy circulatory skin, it is there.
If you did a muscular system skin, it'd be the most popular because then it would be a Titan.
I will log the request there.
All the kids would be like, oh my God. I'm going to be brutal or whatever. I'll just attack on Titan fans. Yeah, okay. I gotta get a bed. I can get like a little Art Deco end table. Look at these. This is nice. This is like Second Life, except not creepy.
That's really our goal. Our other goal is actually to have gameplay, but jokes about content. Sorry. Yeah.
I'll laugh at your jokes. It's okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
All right. We are approaching 10:30. Um, but I was just having too much fun shopping, I guess.
Yeah. I just watching you.
Oh, there's the art vendor. Cool. Um, and but I also need to go to bed at some point tonight as well. Um,
You act like you teach and probably have to be up incredibly early in the morning.
that's not too early,
Okay.
unless you talk to
I
some
did
of the
not
other people
survive well.
some of the other people I game with. It's unfortunate when like everyone you play games with is like in a central or like more Western time zone.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, you're going to bed. What time do you got to wake up? Oh, that early. Oh, I still don't have to go into work because I don't go into work. And you're just like,
Yeah.
shut up.
One of our local teachers, his first class starts at 7:30 in the morning. So like the first year
Yep.
he implemented and we still had a lot more bugs a couple of years ago. I would set my alarm to wake up at 7:30, move it off silent, and then just keep sleeping until he started texting me for help every day. So yeah, the
Well, it's a good thing you're
joys.
on the East Coast because imagine if you're in California and whoop, everyone's
No,
awake.
I am not a
Hours
morning
more.
person, and one of my West Coast educators, she sometimes asks to talk to me before I'm ready to in the morning. I'm like, "Why are you scheduling a call with me at 5:30 your time? Like seriously?" Yeah, educators are wild with that. Yeah. Much prefer admin conferences. They generally start like 2 hours later than teacher conferences.
That's usually because admin comes in later. Not going to say anything,
Exactly. Yeah.
but you know.
I just set you up. You're like, I'm just gonna walk away from that.
A former superintendent who's no longer working, that superintendent would walk in 9 o'clock every day.
Is
I'd
that
often be
good or
coming
bad?
down bad because school started at like 7 o'clock. The doors open. All right,
Right.
it's like, I'm like, you really should be here earlier, but they probably just wanted to avoid the early morning fights. Yeah.
Make someone else deal with all that, and the parent showing up
Yep.
when they're dropping their kids off and wanting to talk to
Yeah.
them. Yeah, I'm not a morning person, as you could tell by at 7:30, me just waking up, turning my phone off silent, and sleeping. So my perfect is like go to bed at 2 a.m., get up at 10 a.m. But when you have to support teachers, I don't get to do that. So I'm looking forward to hopefully being able to hire a full-time person to be on customer support for the fall semester, and then I get to really sleep in again, and that will be a delight.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of discussion in the chat about waking up in the mornings. Yeah.
Sorry, I like ruined it for everyone. They're all like, really?
I know
You
you're
had
like
to
the
remind me,
superintendent shows up
Scott.
at 9 a.m. and we're all like, is that good or bad? I don't know. That seems like that's earlier than all but one of my team ever comes into work. I have one morning person who comes into work at like 5:30.
Oh,
But
geez. There's always one.
I know.
No.
I know.
Yeah, Volcano Doc, I'm the same way. Like, the sun comes up, I'm usually awake, unless it's like in the summer. Then I'll just sleep. But,
I don't sleep as well once the sun's coming up, especially in I'm in Buffalo here, so then the noises outside will start going. So I have my earplugs to like, no, I'm gonna keep sleeping. Yeah.
all right. Well, we are going to say good night to everybody
Okay.
for now. And Lindsay, thank you for being here. Maybe I'll have you on
Absolutely.
again sometime because this is like my jam. I love science. I love games. So
Yeah. We didn't
hence,
even play any quests.
yep,
There's so much we
little
could
bit.
talk about and explore and everything. So
Yep.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Great stuff. And I'll be in touch with you, of course, about actual gaming in my classes and things like that.
Yeah.
And we will have more guests on. I'm like you saw in chat earlier. We have other people coming
Yeah.
on, so
Yeah.
it'll be
That's really awesome.
as we get close to the end of the year. So what do we have next? Lauren Haygood will be back. We'll discuss some water and water chemistry and heavy metals. That's May 11th. And then I got other scheduled stuff that I'm already working on for the end of May and June. So good times.
Awesome.
Um,
Cool.
so thanks everyone for being here and hanging out. I'll I don't know when I'm going to stream again. I'm going to a volleyball tournament all weekend with my oldest. It's her last tournament. So
That's awesome. And someone asked if I
yeah.
stream. I do not stream. So sorry. That is just Scott here. I'm on
Yep.
Twitter. We can say hey. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, everyone.
Awesome.
Good night.
Thanks.